Welcome back to the Foundation in C# course. We are currently in Module 5, and this lesson, we're going to cover debugging and testing of our application. So we've built the application. We think it works. We have, in our minds, made great logic choices, but the reality is we make mistakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the application and just see what breaks. Okay? So let's jump right in. We have our application open here. So let's hit the run button and make sure, first of all, that it builds. And it does. That's a good first step. So it says, welcome to Battleship Light, created by Tim Corey. Player information for player 1. What is your name? My name is Tim. Where do you want to place ship number 1? Well, let's do the happy path first on everything and see what happens. So A1, B1, C1, D1, and E1. Great, it clears the screen, and now it's player 2. Player 2 is Sue, and player 2 is going to be kind of like me, but just a little different. A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. Notice these have all gone in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a notepad. In fact, So winner not declared after all ships sunk. So now it's my turn. I've had some misses. Let's go with C3. And Sue has all 5 sunk. And it's still asking for a shot selection. Now at this time, we've already got some ideas of what the problems of the application are so far. Let's see if we can't debug at least the winner one first. Since now we probably need some data behind it to find out why it's not telling us that we have a winner here. So let's do this. Let's move this aside, and I'll move aside my list as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find that spot in the code, so program.cs, where we are checking for the winner. So we're currently on Sue, so the opponent should be me, Tim, and I have, as we see, 5 strikes against me. So if I hit, I don't know, A2, which is a valid shot, I hit enter, I come down here to this player still active. Now notice my opponent here. The opponent is Tim. The ship location is 5. Let's look at the ship locations. The status is ship. The status is ship, ship, ship. We never marked these as hits. That's interesting. I wonder why. Well, let's find out why. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit continue to let this go through. And then we're going to move it off a screen again. Take the breakpoint off there. And we're going to record the player's shot. Let's go down to record player's shot and look at the shot and say, if it's not a valid shot, continue. We're going to find out if it's a hit, and then we're going to mark the shot results. Let's find out why we're not marking a hit. So Tim is up, and we know that the shots should be along the top here. So A3 should be a hit. And we see, let's look at it. Is a hit is true. So yes, it's a hit. Let's step into mark shot results. So F11, step into, what I'll look for is where I'll loop through and find one that matches. Let's put our cursor, our breakpoint here for the match. We're also going to put a breakpoint here at the end, because if I loop through, actually one more down. If I loop this whole thing and don't find a match, that's a different problem. But if I find a match, then we're going to see why we're not marking it. And I think I see the reason why. All right, so we find the spot. We're going to mark that spot as a hit, which right now it's empty. So if we step into it, now it's a hit. What we never did anywhere is we never went back to that ship and said that ship is also hit. So let's just hit continue to go down to this bottom breakpoint here. Take this breakpoint off. And I'm going to step, let's take the breakpoint off here too. I'm going to step up here, and I'm marking the shot result, but I'm not actually also marking the ship as being hit. Okay, so in here probably, in the identify shot result, we should probably also mark right here where it says is a hit is true. We should mark it as such. Okay, so I think we found our bug here. Is we said, yep, that ship is definitely hit, but we never actually said and tell it so. So let's fix that bug. Okay, so line 180 of our identify shot results, we need to change. But I'm not going to do that yet. Well, I'm not going to do it yet because I want to see if I can't blow this application up. But tell you what, here's what I do. I hit continue. I am going to do it in a minute with edit and continue. So we don't have a hit here we can do, so C5. And C5, we hit this breakpoint here, we can continue, and that's a miss. But I do have a hit with A4 for Tim can shoot at Sue. And now we have this is a hit. But now we can do is we can hit enter here. Notice I can edit. This is called edit and continue, which allows us to put more code in right away, which is a great feature. Because I can say ship.status equals hit. Nope. Sunk. Okay, so we're marking that ship as being sunk. And now if I F11, it'll actually go to this and mark that status as sunk. Now, it doesn't help us in the fact that all the rest of them aren't marked as sunk yet, but we can now start testing some of the things that are less ideal. So, for example, what if I gave my Z9 spot invalid shot location, please try again. Okay, that works. Cool. Let's say I give it test. It blows up. It says, nope, you can't do that. That's the split shot says, nope, that's not a valid shot location. So that's not ideal that it just crashes the application when a person accidentally types something they shouldn't. Let's find out where this is used. Notice my my code lens here that allows me to say, oh, it's used in game logic and it's used in program.cs. Let's look at each of these. Let's look at game logic first. Notice I can kind of see expanded view on the right over here where it shows me a little bit of code. So I have it right here, but that doesn't really help me because I still can't wrap this in a try catch because I can't talk to the user. So I'm going to remember this, but that's not where I want to go. So come back down here and go to my program.cs. Here I can talk to not rethrow it. And I can print out this message and say ex.message. And I can also make sure, just doubly sure, is valid shot equals false. And then let it continue. And that should fix this situation. Let's look at the other situation we had, which was up here in our, nope, wrong one. In our game logic, right there. So who calls this? There we go. So this is where it's called, and we're saying bool is valid location and then immediately assigning it. But if we have an error, we won't even have this Boolean. So let's break this apart into two steps. Let's copy this and let's paste it down below. And then let's set the Boolean equal to false. And let's wrap this whole thing with a snippet, surround with, try, and say exception EX. I'm not going to rethrow it. We're just going to say console write line EX dot message. And you might want to have like an error message or something like that. You know, it's like so it says error colon and the message. And that I think might be nice. So you can either do, you know, error like so. That works. We could do our string interpolation, but for this little one right here, I think it works to do it this way. So let's do it there. And let's also do it up here when we have our try catch. So it's consistent. So that fixes that error we saw. Now let's start it up and make sure that at least that error is resolved. So player's name, Tim, Z9, not a valid location. E1, E2, E3, E3 again, not a valid. Ask for shot now need to take in a player. And now we can put our string interpolation here, our $, and say player dot user's name, comma, lowercase p. So Tim, please enter your shot selection. Okay, so that addresses that issue. So tell us the result of the shot and put one empty line in afterwards. Okay, so after we take the shot, and this is where reading your code is helpful. So good naming is really helpful. So we ask for the shot, we check if it's a valid shot, and then we say if it's a hit or not. We mark the shot, we never actually display the results of the shot. So let's just say, let's pass in, we can pass in all three of these things, I think. And this is a local method. This is in the console because it's going to write out to the console. So let's create this. And we want an empty line afterwards as well. So we want to say console write line, our $ for string interpolation. And we'll say row. And right away we'll say column is a hit. And we're going to copy this, or control exit actually. If is a hit, then print this. Else print is a miss. And let's put a period instead of an exclamation point because we're not quite so happy about that. And now we can just print at the end, either way, a blank line. So it's a really simple way of displaying the shot, and that takes care of the next issue. And I say takes care of, it should take care of, but we want to make sure we test this. That's why I'm not deleting these out of my text file. I'm just marking them with an asterisk saying, I think I got these. And then what we'll do is we'll run the application and make sure that each of these in fact is what we want it to be, and then we can mark it off our list. It's not done until you've proved it. That's basically what it comes down to. So put a space after the hit/miss to keep spacing accurate. Okay, so that's back on our display grid. So we either put an X or an O. Let's put a space after X and a space after O and a space after question mark. Okay, that takes care of that. And winner not declared after all the ships have been sunk. We think we took care of that already. And that's it. So let's start this up. Let's go back over here. Let's put our list up here, and we've already tested out trying to break it. We couldn't break it with bad data. So let's try and go through the happy path again. A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. That's for Tim. And for Sue, we want, let's do E1, E2, E3, E4, and E5. All right, so check it out. Our grid is in the right spot, and we've got a space afterwards. It's nicely spaced, and it says Tim. So Tim, please enter your shot selection. My shot selection is A1. A1's a miss. Okay, Sue, enter your shot selection. You know what? I'm going to copy Tim. A1's a hit. All right, notice my grid now is still laid out properly because I have that space after the O. All right, so enter your shot selection, Tim. My shot selection is going to be E1. E1's a hit, cool. All right, so Sue already has a hit, she's ahead, and she's gonna get another hit. I've got a miss and a hit. I'm gonna go with the middle of the grid, and that's a miss. Okay, so now Sue's got 2 in a row. Let's make it 3 in a row. And now I've got a miss in the middle of the grid, a miss in the top corner. And I think I'm playing tic-tac-toe, so I'm going to try with, let's try with E5. And that's a hit. So, hey, my tic-tac-toe strategy is working after all. The only problem is Sue is just amazing this game. Okay, so one last one, A5. That's a miss. And Sue's going to copy me again, A5. A5 is a hit. Congratulations to Sue for winning. Sue took 5 shots to win. Okay, so now we have a working application, and all of these have been tested. The grid works. Who's shooting? We know who. Empty line after the result of the shooting? Yep. Space after the hit or miss to keep it accurate? Yep. And the winner not declared? Fixed. So these are all fixed. We can rest assured knowing that we've debugged our application. There's no more bugs in it. And that's just not true. I'm sure there's something else we can probably figure out to break this. Maybe because it's a simple application, maybe not. But in general, there's always another bug somewhere. So, but this is how you build an application from design or idea all the way through to completed application. First, you got to plan this thing out, okay? And that's what we did. We planned it out, and then you got to take your time going through implementing that plan and making sure that you keep your focus on what you're doing, whether it's high-level design of those quarterback methods or whether it's, diving into the logic of an individual method and what it should do. You kind of break it down into those pieces. It makes it a little easier. That doesn't mean you don't have a lot of logic and you don't have a lot of decision making to do, and it's not confusing at times. It's just easier when you break it down in those little pieces. Okay? But also, another important part of building your application is once you're done, not just assuming the user will use it correctly. The user may do things that you don't expect, like typing in Z5 or test, or I don't know what to type here, so that's what I'm typing, enter. These things are all silly nonsense. But the reality is a user will probably try it. And so if you try it first, you have the opportunity to identify if something happens that you don't expect, and you have the opportunity to fix it. Okay? So that's the complete process. Hopefully you've learned a lot from this. Hopefully you've been able to take what we've learned so far in modules 1 through 4 and apply it here and see it kind of put together into a larger whole. Now, after this is done, after you kind of caught your breath after this, after you've tested it, then you can move on to the next module. But first, let's talk through what our tip is for this lesson. So our pro tip is don't just test the happy path. I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Try to break your application. Your users will if you don't. Okay? So you still have homework, even though it's the last lesson. Your homework is to pick one new feature. Don't make it a big one. Make it a small one. Whether it is you want to have, maybe it's just to refactor that method, refactor those couple methods into a more dry framework where you're doing it once instead of multiple times. Or maybe it is you want to add a third user or the option to have a third user. That might be a little bigger, a little more ambitious, but try and pick at least one feature and add it to the application. Because just watching me do it isn't going to cut it. Because at some point, you're going to have to write applications on your own. In this application, it's small, it doesn't have a lot of moving parts, and you get to try things out. And worst case, you start over. I mean, worst case, you take my code and you start over. But best case, you have an application where you've got something that works and that can be even better, and you can learn on it and grow. Because those skills have to be tested somehow. And this is a time to test it. So pick at least one new feature and add it to this project. Maybe do 2 or 3 or 4. Okay? Once you've done all of that, once you feel comfortable, then as soon as it's out, because it's not out yet as a time of recording, but as soon as it's out, the next course is going to cover some advanced object-oriented programming. So you'll definitely want to come back for that because C# is all about object-oriented programming. We've started that with classes and instantiating that kind of thing, but we're going to kind of dive deep into really the the heart of object-oriented programming in the next course. Okay? Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. And I'll see you in the next course.